Ben Meadows. I'm one of the K-12 outreach reps with Georgia Student Finance, and today I have the pleasure of having Renee Hicks, our social media coordinator, joining you. So thank you, Renee, again for taking time out of your busy day to be with me.
You're welcome.
And today we're going to be talking about social media branding for students, which is a topic that's a little different than what we normally talk about. Usually it's financial aid, HOPE, Zelle, state programs, FAFSA, all things, uh, uh, college planning, financial aid process, things like that. But for those of you that keep up with current events, you'll know that in June, I believe it was June 21st of this year, the NCAA athletes were able to strike brand deal and sponsorship for the first time, a new possibility for athletes after the Supreme Court ruled that they can't prohibit student athletes from profiting off their name, image, and likeness. So definitely a big change there. And so as a result, that's kind of where this topic came into be. And so today we're going to talk about the importance of social media, networking, and the role it plays in our everyday life, and how students can harness some of that to start creating their own brands early on. And so I'm certainly no expert in social media and networking, but that's why we have Renee with us. So Renee, I got a few questions for you, and I
Sure.
hope that's okay.
Yes.
And we'll go ahead and hop right in. So when the topic first came up, I started doing a little research, and I was surprised that even though students now being able to profit off sponsorships and their brand online, so to speak, is new, the whole idea itself isn't necessarily new for students. One of the things that I found was that the creator of Khan Academy, which I hope some of you that are tuning in today are familiar, but Khan Academy is a math tutoring service online that it started out in 2006, but now they have millions of users all over the world that students use to help increase their competency with their mathematics and things like that. But it actually started with Salem Khan in 2006. He was a student and he just started making YouTube videos to help his family members with math. And now they have over 7 million subscribers and 15 million users a month. And so it's really amazing what some students are able to do by branding some of their passions and I guess greater attributes in terms of social media and networking. So when I first started coming up with the topic and thinking about it, I started to think of what is a personal brand for a student, because a lot of times students, they don't necessarily have the work experience, so to speak. They're younger, they're in school. So what is a personal brand for a student? And so one of the things I kind of came up with here is, as a high school student, everything you do online represents yourself and your personal brand. And so I kind of stole a quote from Jeff Bezos here. He said, "Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room." And so how can you identify your brand as a student? And that was a really difficult question to answer myself. And so I kind of broke it down into a couple of different questions here. And one of the questions is, what is it that you're passionate about? What is your greatest attribute? What do you know more about than the people around you? And so for the students listening, I just kind of want to throw those questions out there for you guys to kind of keep in the back of your mind as we go through this webinar and I start asking Renee some of these questions. Is that in terms of, do you find yourself where your friends, your peers, and even some of the adults around you tend to come to you about questions as it relates to certain things because they know that you tend to be more up to date? You read a lot about these specific fields, subjects, or topics, and that might be a good way to kind of highlight the fact that that might be your passion. And so I guess the question that we're all here for today is, how can I as a student start developing a personal brand? And Renee, I have some questions here for you. The first thing I want to talk to you about really is understanding the importance of social networking. So why build a social network for professional purposes?
So I do want to kind of back up and go back to the NCAA rule that you were talking about, and how, as a collegiate athlete, I wish that had been available for me coming up. We were actually not prohibited, but discouraged from using social media. Back then, I'm aging myself, kind of. The MySpace days, Twitter was pretty new, and Facebook had just become open to college students. So it was new to everybody. So at that time, it was like, stay off of social media. Like, you want to keep yourself out of the limelight. And so watching like my little cousins who are athletes that are getting ready to go to college and are in college, is like social media they're promoting themselves. Like, as athletes, that's how it's their personal brand. Sports are their personal brand. So it's also a way of marketing themselves as athletes. Like, this is what I have. Here's my highlights. So it's different to see. It's amazing to see how it's used now versus back then. But
Right.
like you were talking about, why build social media networks for professional purposes? Social media can take you so far. It can get you across to faces that you wouldn't even imagine. Just a video that you have that goes viral, or that is picked up or clicked on or liked by somebody, that can be seen by somebody in another state or another country that you wouldn't even have an opportunity to see face to face otherwise. Like, it's so important to put yourself out there on social media and get familiar with social media. I can't stress that enough. It's such an important tool, and almost everybody is using it. On a professional level, on a personal level, it's being used by almost any and everybody. So if you're not engaging in social media, it's like you're kind of out of the loop. It's what is the now, so it's very important to do that. It can help boost your career, depending, on, if I know, as an agency, we sometimes look at people we might be potentially hiring, like looking at their social media, especially if they're in the marketing field, which is what we so closely work with. Like, how do they do with their marketing? Are they expressing themselves as being a creative on their social media platform? So a lot of these things can be taken into account when you're, starting to define what your career is. So it's very important to, you know, use social media in that way to help build yourself and network with people too. Um, if there's an employer that you're interested in, if they have social media pages, engage with those. Find out more about their company, their style of marketing based on what they're posting on there. I think they'll take notice in those things, and seeing what you're doing.
And it's so much more of like a multi-layered approach now, I feel like, than what it used to. Used to be like, it seems like, certain employers would pull your credit and stuff like that, but it's not just that now. It's now they're looking at your LinkedIn, they're looking at your social media.
That's
And
it.
so it's really, like a multi-layer approach, even when it comes to career and hiring practices. So,
Right.
it's definitely important to have that social network. I want to move on. I want to ask you another question. In terms of boosting your social network, what are some good tips that students can use to boost that network online?
I think the number one thing that I can say is engage. Don't just build a social media platform for yourself. First of all, engage when you're posting stuff, engage with the people that are following you, that are commenting on your post, reply back to them, like their posts. Anybody who engages with me on social media, I'm at least going to like their post to know that they're heard or being seen by me. That's one of the most important things you can do, is engage. And then also, if there's a company that you're interested in networking with, or a similar brand or a marketing company that you have interest in, engage in their profile. Go comment on some of their stuff, comment to someone, reply to somebody else on a comment. I think that's so important in boosting your network, is in engagement. That's the number one thing I can tell you to do, is engage on your social media and engage on other people's social media to get your name out there, to get your face seen. Someone might see your username and think it's catchy and click on your profile, and that might just kind of unravel a ton of opportunities for you. So I think that um, engagement is the biggest one, and also be thoughtful about what you post. Don't just put. I'm very organized when it comes to social media. Like, I like things to look a certain way, so I'm very particular on the type of pictures that go on there. When you look at GA Features, like, all of our pictures usually come from iStock or are some type of professional photos, unless they're coming, from our events and stuff like that. But for the most part, I like our page to look, have an aesthetic. And so don't just post stuff just to post stuff. Like, have some thought behind it. Don't just post because you're supposed to post once a day. Like, for me, if I only post 3 times a week, but it's meaningful posts that are going to get your attention and have a good message, then I'd rather post 3 times a week and you guys get something out of it than post 7 days a week of just something that's going to clutter your feed. And again, like reciprocate. If someone's commenting on your page or liking, like go back and give that. I think the biggest thing that you can do as someone on social media, you can support somebody else just by simply liking their post, hitting that like button, getting their likes up, and letting it possibly go viral. It's a huge step. So those would be my two biggest things in boosting your network.
I like what you said about the quality over quantity. Like really, be careful about the stuff that you're putting out there. And you never know, like the network and the people that you associate with, how much of an asset that person can be down the road,
Right.
for your career that, you otherwise never would have thought could have happened. So
Right.
so a really good point there. What are some good ways to, when we talk about a presence online and social media and things like that, you definitely want to talk about safety. So what are some ways that you can protect yourself online as well?
Definitely when you're engaging with, let's talk about, so if you're an influencer, you become an influencer and someone's interested in working in a partnership with you, verify that they are who they say they are, okay? Because I've even seen an instance where there's an account that has a similar name to another account, but they're a spam account. So they're asking you for your credit card information and things like that. So make sure that when people are trying to do promotions with you and partner with you, that they are who they say they are. Number one, do not give out any of your personal information, especially if you've not verified that they are who they say they are. Set strong passwords. You don't want anybody to come in and hack and take over all of your stuff. So make sure you're smart about setting strong passwords, but also not just giving them out to anybody. Like, unless you have a team behind you that's running your social media account, like nobody should have your passwords otherwise. Check your privacy settings, make sure, that that your page is public and that anybody who walks up off the street is going to be able to see your content. If you don't want them, then you need to make sure and set your privacy settings. And then also do a search of yourself online. I think that's huge in seeing what's out there, seeing if there's copycat accounts that are trying to mimic you and who you are, and just kind of, if you see something that's a red flag, like let your people know, hey, this is a fake account. This isn't me. Don't trust it. You have to be aware of who you're letting in and who you're giving your personal information to.
Right. And definitely make use of those privacy settings on social media to filter out, who you want seeing your content and things such as that. Whether we're using, the media platforms for entertainment branding or, as a content creator, the opportunity is there to brand your image. I want to talk a little bit about the responsibility that's also there. The responsibility is there to, not only protect yourself in terms of safety, but also protect your future. And I think this goes back to what you were talking about before about, being careful what you post. I mean, we see example after example, whether it's celebrities or athletes or, industry leaders that end up, really jeopardizing their career for, stuff that they're putting out on social media sometimes, or not necessarily things that they're putting out now, but that they've put out in the past. Right. I mean, just a recent thing that I thought of today is the Jeopardy host, that recently accepted the position and then all of a sudden, turns out resigning due to previous social media posts. So I think, it's important to make sure that we're keeping the message or post positive. If avoid controversial topics, if you need to, and, just the general rule of being kind and, adhere to the golden rule,
because if you're gonna keep your stuff public, it's gonna be out there. So like you said, people are gonna be digging back years and years and years to see this post that you posted 10 years ago when you were in college on some crazy night, and it's gonna come back to haunt you. So be mindful of what you're posting. For me, sometimes I like to keep personal and business separate. So my personal account will be private and only for friends and family, whereas my public profiles will be open to everybody. And that kind of ensures that I'm safe in what I'm doing and hopefully nothing will come back to haunt me.
Right. Well, I'm going to switch gears just a minute, and I want to talk to you about moving away from social networking and talk a little bit about the different social media platforms. So it seems like there we tend to think of social media in terms of like Facebook and things like that, but when I talk to students, they look at me like Facebook is for old people. So you're probably much more up to date on some of the newer platforms that the students are using now. But I want you to talk a little bit about some different social media platforms and what are some platforms to consider when building a brand.
Sure. I'm going to go over my favorites. So, like you said, Facebook is unfortunately for the old people. It has become that. Well, it started off with college students. It has now become where even grandma and grandpa are now housing pages. So it's more of a family friendly atmosphere, if you want to put that. It's still a great place for you to conduct businesses and have a business page. But if you're looking to be more with the trends and the times and things, that's probably not your number one platform. But for us, like we're reaching parents and counselors and stuff, it's great for us in GA Futures to kind of use that platform as one of our number ones. So yeah, Facebook is kind of, you can reach people of all ages. But yeah, it's going to be a little more for the older crowd on there. My next favorite is Instagram. Anybody who knows me knows I love taking pictures. I love pictures. So I love that Instagram is picture based, although lives and reels have also become another favorite of mine. I know, like, especially with you guys on Outreach, like we've had to adapt to the crazy things and ideas that I have of let's go live and do this and let's use that platform for this and let's start doing reels and videos. And I'm starting to make y'all get a little uncomfortable with those things, but that's the way of, that's where the times are shifting now. Reels are becoming the it thing because of TikTok.
Right.
And so I'll come back to TikTok, but yeah, like videos are seen more than like me just posting an image. So I will get a ton more views by posting a reel on Instagram than I would just a picture. So that's kind of why we try to utilize that. So Instagram is my favorite for pictures and utilizing video. YouTube we use here and there, but it's great if you have a larger audience. If you have like, you know, something like this, we could actually post this on YouTube later so that people can go back and when they're looking for stuff on social media, they could find that information. So it's a great place to kind of house videos and informative stuff. So I think of YouTube as like my Google. If I want to learn how to, put a shelf together, I will Google. I put a spin bike together once, just going to YouTube and finding that. So it's more informative for me when you're trying to find the answers. YouTube is like my place to find your how-tos. TikTok is the final platform that I will say is become my new favorite. And I will oftentimes take TikToks and use them as reels. TikTok, however, is like for the younger people. I mean, I'll say people of all ages are on there. I'll say that, but you definitely have to be creative in that. So a lot of them are like skits or, you're talking about some informative stuff or just being funny. Like it's your place to be free and be creative. So I think TikTok is definitely where people are going viral and quick. So if you want to be seen, and you're creative, TikTok is the place to go.
And I love TikTok for that reason. In fact, I love students for that reason. Is
Yeah.
whenever I need a fresh perspective on something or some creativity, that's my go-to. And students, and nothing says that more than TikTok, because I mean, you get on there and you look at it and you're like,
I'm
how
swiping for
does somebody
hours.
come up with
This is
this?
me. Hours.
And so all those are great platforms to use. I really appreciate you sharing it. I want to talk a little bit about how to use the social media to brand your image. And if you don't mind, I want you to share some personal story here about, how kind of you built your own brand on things. So.
So I have a book club that I built, I think it'll be 4 years this November. And it just kind of was one of those things where I wanted to read more and thought that I would start something up that might gain like 10 friends, that we might just get together and read books every month, maybe 10 of us. And so something told me go ahead and lock down the name, lock down these social media platforms. And then Instagram started taking off. Like within a month, I had 1,000 followers, and then it just continued to grow. So I have a little bit over 23,000 followers now. But it just grew. And so I use my professional photography experience to post pictures about books. I now have partnerships with probably every major publisher that is out there. So I've have books galore, and this is just the beginning. Like there's so many more. I have hundreds. But I get them for free. Like I don't, that's part of me being an influencer is I don't pay for books. I can reach out to people and get books before they even come out. Some examples, like I have headphone companies that continue to send me, I have 4 pairs of these. Why do I need 4 pairs? But they want to send them to me. I'll take it just for me to post it on my timeline and in front of my audience. So, again, as you spoke about in the beginning, it's taking something that you're passionate about, and books became that passion for me 5 years ago, and it just grew into something that is now just I've become an influencer. So it's become really cool.
I think it's cool that to see people take their passion and take the things that they really enjoy doing and just pursuing it. And when you do it on a platform, it's amazing to see how people react to that and they really embrace that. And they support your brand, they support your message, and it almost kind of creates a even more of a network based on seeing the things that people enjoy doing. And I think that kind of brings us to our next point, which is authenticity. I think that's one thing that really people appreciate. And I pulled this from online, but I feel like it really kind of encapsulates what I'm trying to say. So showing your truest self in its rawest form is a huge reason people connect with entrepreneurs so well. And so, whether it's, a book club or other things such as athletics that people are branding online, when they see someone in their raw form and that authenticity, it really kind of feeds the brand, so to speak.
Right.
And then also engaging with the followers, like you said, making sure that, you're not just putting out content there, but, as people comment and people, react to your message, you make sure that you engage them. And then the creativity that goes into it,
Right.
like TikTok, and knowing when multimedia can enhance or distract from the message and post. Can you talk to us a little bit about social media analytics and how that can assist in branding as well?
Finding out what time of day you're posting, does that work? Are you reaching the most people? Who you're reaching? Where you're reaching them? Where is your base at? Are they, in the States? Are they in Canada? Are they somewhere else across the world? That makes a difference. And also, like, analytics can tell you, is your fan base normally mostly men, or is it women, or is it children? Like, it'll tell you their age range, so you can kind of gear what you're posting based on who's following you. So I think analytics are super important in showing your engagement. Like, for instance, I said reels. Like, I could post a picture, it may get a couple hundred likes from people, because not everybody's going to engage. Even with 23,000 followers, I may only get, a few hundred likes, but when I post my reels, I can get thousands off of that. So I'm now learning, in order for me to get the engagement that I want, I have to step out of my box, which means being creative, creating funny reels about books. So that's another battle that I have to find, is something funny that pertains to books, and then posting it to my page. So I'm finding that people are engaging more with these reels, and it's really changed the way that I use my platform, because I'm posting way more videos now than I am books or pictures of books.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Renee, so much for joining us, and thanks for the good information that you're having. For those that join us today, feel free to join us on our next webinar. It's going to be September 2nd. We're going to be talking about GA Futures, our website, and all the different resources that we have. Again, thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you guys next time.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.